Hey everyone, I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jesse.
And we're going to be taking a look at the Ariel Rider X-Class 52 volt.
Next on Now Let's Review. Before we get started, we want to let you know that Ariel Rider did send us this bike for review, but that will not affect our review, and all of our thoughts and opinions in this video are based purely on our experience with this bike.
That having been said, the Ariel Rider X-Class 52 volt is a gorgeous bike. The classic cafe racer style is more reminiscent of a motorcycle than a bicycle.
It comes in blue, red, and black, and the red paint on our model looks great and has a very nice finish. The color-matched rims are a great styling choice, and overall, this is one of the best-looking bikes we have come across.
The build quality of the X-Class is top-notch, which we have found to be the case with both of the Ariel bikes we've tested. The bike came with lots of tools, a bunch of extra hardware, and even a bottle of touch-up paint in case the bike gets scratched, proving Ariel's attention to detail and their genuine care about the customer experience. 180mm hydraulic disc brakes on the front and rear wheels have excellent feel and extremely good stopping power.
It features a large headlight that provides good visibility and a well-placed brake light that can easily be seen during the day. So what I really like about having a big front headlight is that you get a lot more respect on the road.
Yeah.
I don't mean people being like, yeah, respect, man. I just mean that cars driving along, they're going to give you more room than if you were driving on a little bicycle with one of those little tiny LED headlights.
Exactly. This almost looks more like a motorcycle than a bike, and I think that really transfers to how other drivers perceive you on the road.
Again, it's that big headlight, and the taillight's really nice because visibility is super important.
The plastic fenders over the tires do a great job of blocking dirt, sticks, rocks, and whatever else would otherwise fly at you when riding off-road.
The seat is well made and comfortable, although you will want to stand up if you're going over bumpy terrain. I really like having a big, comfortable seat on a bike. You think about bicycle seats and you're thinking about these like tiny little, very uncomfortable to sit on seats. This is not that. This is nice and big. You're gonna want to sit on it for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I have ridden this quite extensively, and I know you have too, and I have no complaints about this seat.
Yeah. Now, obviously, bicycle seats look the way they do because you need to put all the power from your legs into the pedals. And you can't really do that on this bike, but it doesn't matter because it's an e-bike.
The handlebar grips are well shaped and have great texture, and the handlebars themselves are adjustable.
The adjustment is more of a tilt back and forth than actual height adjustment, but there is variation in rider position based on the tilt.
No matter the handlebar positioning, the fixed seat and cafe racer style of the bike will mean the rider has to lean over to some degree at all times while riding. And this may be a problem for people with bad backs or who simply just don't enjoy leaning forward that much on a bike.
Now, I didn't really run into this as being a problem, and I do generally have a bad back. I took this multiple days for long trail rides over bumps and roots and rocks and dirt, and I found that, yeah, it was pretty comfortable. I didn't mind leaning over so much, mostly I think because I could lean back. I could kind of grab it with one hand and lean back and stretch a little bit, because again, it's a very powerful e-bike, and with that motor, you don't have to be pedaling the whole time.
I agree, doing a lot of trail riding as well, being leaned over is really not a bad thing. I also come from a motorcycle background, I'm used to being leaned over, but even from a biking perspective, it's not too bad. On the left handlebar is the simple and easy to read screen that displays current, average, and max speeds, trip distance, odometer, and hours ridden, as well as a battery level indicator and the pedal assist level.
Yeah, I like this screen. It's not too big, it's not too ostentatious. You do see some bigger screens on e-bikes, but they usually tell you the same amount of information, and this just gives you more real estate on your handlebars to put what you really want, which is your phone. Because yeah, it's great to know about all the different stuff going on with your bike, but most of the time you're gonna wanna know where you're going, because you can actually go a pretty good distance on this bike.
Yeah. It also has buttons to change the pedal assist level, and the power and display select buttons are on the bottom of the screen. The cadence sensing pedal assist on the X-Class is actually very usable and really does assist pedaling rather than taking over completely when it senses the pedals moving like some other bikes.
Now, in the higher levels of pedal assist, The cadence sensing will continue to work, and basically you'll stop putting power in through the pedals. You'll just kind of be pretending. Alternatively, you could do the same thing with the throttle. They have to make a trade-off when they're designing this e-bike. Most regular just pedal bikes, you get up to 22 miles an hour, and then they have to make sure that there's gearing so that way you can get up very steep hills. The tough part about an e-bike is that, especially with this one, it goes over 22 miles an hour. And so it's hard to make a gear system that's going to allow you to keep putting power in once you exceed what you normally would be doing.
Keeping it in the lower levels of pedal assist actually works well for pedaling through trails and still gives you a workout while just giving the extra push needed to make it up steep hills.
Trail riding is a blast with the X-Class since the 20 by 4 inch CST tires combined with the adjustable front and rear suspension make the bike capable of handling some moderately rough terrain.
The rear suspension was on the stiff side when we got it, and even with lots of adjustment, the rear suspension doesn't offer much travel. It has a knob for rebound adjustment, and the spring compression can be adjusted with a wrench or pliers, and both are easy to do.
This bike is not a mountain bike, and it is really meant for smoother trails and to be ridden around town, but it can handle difficult terrain fairly well and be fun to ride off-road.
On the right handle is the 7-speed Shimano shifter and a half-twist throttle to control the motor. And for the riding I've done, the throttle has been used well over 75% of the time because it's so smooth and the motor is so powerful.
A 1,000-watt hub motor with 2,000 watts of peak power is mounted on the back wheel. It absolutely flies.
So now, Jesse, you have more of an engineering background. What is peak power versus continuous power?
So continuous power is what the motor's going to be doing most of the time, but peak power is normally when it gets started. So that initial, whoa, is the peak power. And you're getting 2,000 watts of that, and then 1,000 watts of continuous power up and to the top speed. And from experience, it's really fun.
The acceleration this bike delivers is by far the best of any bike that we've tested, and the motor makes a lot of torque, meaning it can climb steep hills using throttle only with no problem. With the Speedometer app on my phone, I got the bike up to what it read was 31 miles per hour, which is right in line with their stated top speed of over 30 miles per hour. But the display on the bike reads high and has shown up to 34 or 35, so just keep that in mind.
Powering the massive motor is a 52-volt, 18-amp-hour lithium-ion battery that gives the X-Class a claimed range of up to 70 miles on a single charge.
Yeah, I really like how Ariel Rider has incorporated the battery into the frame. It's very well integrated. A lot of e-bikes have this ugly looking battery that just sits on top of the frame. This one is really well integrated and it just looks awesome.
The X-Class also comes with a key, which I usually don't like, but this key is just used specifically for removing the battery from the bike. So that means that if you lose the key for whatever reason, you can still get the battery into the bike, and you could still charge the bike as if it was a vehicle of its own while you're still looking for that key. So you're not going to be completely out of luck if you lose the key, as opposed to some bikes where you can't turn on that bike at all if you've lost the key.
The 70-mile range figure is definitely generous, and with the amount of throttle and high-level pedal assist you will likely be using, that range is going to be much lower.
Yeah, I mean, this bike could have an unlimited range if you just pedaled it the whole time. So, range numbers can be deceiving. They vary a lot. Because the motor is so efficient, if you're using it very lightly, it's actually gonna get you very far. Of course, you're gonna be doing a lot of that work. But if you're hogging down on that throttle, it'll get you less far. The nice part about this bike is that it has a pretty big battery. We've been riding it pretty heavily. I've been doing, trail riding and stuff like that. I've been getting a range of probably over 20 miles. I usually get home before I completely deplete the battery. What have you tested?
I've tested it at about 23 miles, completely depleting the battery, and that was almost all throttle usage. Same thing, trail riding, riding fast, trying to keep up with traffic. And so yeah, a throttle only range of over 20 miles is very impressive. And like you said, you could get significantly more if you really put in the work and pedaled hard.
Yeah, I mean, if distance was what you were after and you were, going on a nice smooth trail and you were putting in a lot of pedaling, and you were, getting it up to speed maybe with the throttle or with the pedal assist, and then shutting it off and trying to pedal as far as you could get pretty far. Would you want to do that? No, not really. The bike isn't really made for it, but in a pinch, maybe you could.
The X-Class has a maximum weight limit of 300 pounds, and the range will obviously also change depending on the rider's weight.
I'm pretty sure this bike is meant to be your primary method of transportation, as it's pretty much too big and heavy for any bike rack. I would say anything other than a large van or pickup truck, you're not going to be moving this by a motor vehicle, besides itself.
You're right, and weighing 75 pounds, lifting it is not easy, and bringing it inside is not a simple thing to do.
The long range and riding comfort makes this bike a great commuting option in urban or suburban areas, and with optional racks, a long seat, and many other accessories, this bike can really be as practical as anything else.
The unmatched acceleration, impressive build quality, and all-around capability that the X-Class 52V provides will cost you $2,199 as of writing this review.
While not exactly pocket change, it is a more than reasonable price for what you get from this bike, especially considering that some of its competitors cost more for significantly less performance.
And I really like the fact that Ariel Rider is a US-based company. That generally means really good customer service compared to a lot of Chinese-based companies. And I've found that with Ariel Rider, they do have great customer service. And the quality control is also usually better. And this is definitely the case. This is a really well-made bike. So was the other Ariel that we tested, the Radial. All the bikes we've gotten from them have been top-notch, and it really shows.
I think possibly my favorite part about this bike is this little sticker right here. Yeah, it says that it's a Class 2 e-bike. I can neither confirm nor deny if that's true or not. You might want to check your local regulations, but it's nice to have that sticker. But beyond anything else, this bike is fun.
This bike is so fun. The first time all of us rode it, we were just like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then we've been riding it so much because it is so fun. We've had friends come over and try this out, grown men that have come back from riding down the road, giggling like children with huge grins on their faces. This really is just a toy for grown-ups, and I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to get around town, to feel like I have the speed and power to get out of trouble. I don't know if I've stated this enough that I love this bike. And yeah, the fact that you can pick one up for under $3,000, that's
under $2.5 grand.
I mean, really great. I just imagine for a minute, 4 years ago, a bike like this probably would have cost you $4, $5, $7 grand. E-bikes have come such a long way in such a short amount of time, and this is like a shining example of what is possible.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I'm from a motorcycle background. I've been riding motorcycles my whole life pretty much, and this gives that same kind of fun, you know, without having to worry about refueling, without the smell, without the noise bothering people.
Without the motorcycle license.
Exactly. This really is like, if you're looking to get into the motorcycle experience without going all the way, this really can bring you pretty close to that. Overall, the Ariel Rider X-Class 52V is an excellent bike that will turn heads everywhere you bring it and provide endless fun for as long as you own it.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed our review of the Ariel Rider X-Class. I certainly enjoyed reviewing it for you, so thank you very much. And if you would just hit the like button, that would help us out, feed the algorithm. And yeah, if you want to find out more about this bike, we'll put the links down below. We'll see you next time. Now let's review.